Well, you may remember, early in the morning the boys took off from Guy Mo's cabin. The mountain morning was magical in the Rockies. Misty valleys, towering peaks, eagles soaring above. The rumble of the bikes keeping time to their thoughts. James O. powered up his custom-flamed Harley and almost took flight with the eagles. His spirits soared. James knew this was his last ride. Uncle John hung on tight with guitars flying like kites behind them. James had dreamed of going to his favorite place on earth, the Rocky Mountain National Park, high atop the world with peaks all around. He pulled for that place. James had been there in his prime, on that very same Harley. The lucky trio pulled into that mountain park in late afternoon to another fantastic sunset scene. Golden clouds against azure skies. Peaks like a circle unbroken way up in the air. All they could do was stand in awe and prayer to the gifts received from their great adventure, and with much more to come. It was all downhill from there. James knew a spot not far away, an ancient trapper's shack tucked in the mountain meadow close to the park. He hoped it would still be there. Not far down the road, they left that road and across rocky slopes and hills into a valley on the mountainside. In a meadow under some evergreen, James' prayers were answered. A humble trapper's log shack, long left to the ages, still stood. The roof boards had rotted, but it still made for a spot for shelter and a fire ring. The door laid wide open, and mystery filled the air. Soon the meadow danced in the glow of the writer's fire. Mose went off by himself with his entrenching shovel. Guy had given him a keepsake golden banjo string, and Mose was going to make a diddly bow. Mose hooked the string in a crack on the shovel's tip. He found a branch from a spruce and whittled a bridge from it. Mose found a bear's claw by the trapper's shack. He used that for the nut. The end of the string wound around the handle and was tied tight. Now Mose could join the boys for a jam around the fire. They plucked the evening away. Guy's snacks that he had given them toasting by the fire. There were bits of porcupine meat with organic porky toothpicks. Yummy stuff. Full of porky meat and good tunes, they built up the fire and fell into a deep sleep. In the morning, James woke to the smell of fish and drips landing on his face. And he also heard a tune from Unc's guitar floating in the mountain air. A big old bear stared down into James' face, and with a start James sat up. And there across the clearing sat a mama bear plucking Uncle John's tenor guitar, with her baby bear dancing about at her feet. Then more bears came out of the shadows all around. A big one came forward with a scarred-up old guitar strapped on and began singing a bear's blues. Another showed up with an old tin washtub strung like a bass with one string. A primitive jungle rhythm set the bears to dancing in a mountain meadow jam. The bear jam ended soon after the bears had played themselves out, and sun was coming up, and the bears vanished as fast as they had appeared. The entranced old bewildered riders just sat speechless. Then up the path from the stream below, lumbered a big bruin hauling a big fish in his mouth. "Breakfast!" cried the boys. The boys struck up a fire and found an old grate in the shack to grill Mr. Fish on. The bear lumbered off back down the path. After a fish feast, the boys headed off down the mountain with a passenger. The guitar-picking Busker Bear was waiting to hitch a ride with Mose down the mountain. It looked like a circus act as Mose and the bear set off on their adventure. The intrepid riders headed out of the Rockies, leaving the Busker Bear at the edge of the mountains. The boys headed northeast towards South Dakota and the Black Hills.